So I wanted to make a video about incubating and hatching eggs and kind of why we do what we do. And I think a lot of people just don't know what all goes into incubating and hatching your own eggs. But I wanted to say that this little guy, it's not focusing on you. This little guy is a Welsh Harlequin male, and he is going to his home today, to his own little flock. So he will have his very own group of friends. So incubating and hatching your own eggs, a lot of people think, oh, it's fun, it's cheaper, it's easier than buying from a hatchery. And it is fun at times, but it's also very heartbreaking and it is very difficult, and there's no guarantee with it. One of the very first things that can happen is while you're incubating, you just have eggs that were never fertilized, so they were never going to develop anyways, and you waited 10 to 15 days to check and see how they were developing, and then they just didn't develop and they were never going to. Or you have ones that you candle them at day 10, and by candle I mean check them with a light, and you can see the veins forming and you can see the babies moving, and that part's always really fun. It's always really cool. It's one of our favorite things to do together, is to candle those eggs and just watch the little babies swimming around. But 10 days later, because we check our duck eggs at day 10 and anywhere from day 20 to day 23, right before they go on lockdown, sometimes they'll stop developing, and there's nothing you can do for that. There's nothing that you did do to that, and it just happens. So if you get past they were never fertilized, or they were and they were developing and they just stopped, sometimes you'll have ones that they were fully formed, they were ready to go, and they just never pip. Sometimes you'll have ones, they do pip. They will poke through that internal membrane into the air bubble or that air pocket, but then they won't pip externally. They won't actually pip through the shell. They won't actually break through that shell. They recommend not assisting them in hatching. During lockdown, you don't move them. You can't move them. So sometimes they'll pip upside down on the other side of the egg. Sometimes they'll pip in reverse inside the egg where there is no air bubble, and so they don't make it. Sometimes they'll pip too soon, and then that leads to them hatching too soon, which sounds great. But when they hatch too soon, they are not fully developed and they do not make it. And now you have a fully formed chick or a fully formed gosling or duckling who hatched but never fully formed, and you can't do anything for that. So there's a lot that goes into it just leading up to hatch day. You can do everything right. You can check them every hour. You can do everything you possibly can. An entire bucket of eggs that were fully formed and fully developed 3 days ago when you checked them, and your incubator went down. Say you finally get some babies, and if you get 50% of your hatch, that's pretty good. If you get more than 50%, you're doing really good. But you're gonna lose a lot, and that's the hardest part that we found, and it doesn't ever really get easier, and it doesn't ever feel any better. And we keep our ducklings and our goslings as close to a week as we can, because there is also something called a failure to thrive, and that could be caused from anything from just poor genetics or splayed legs or Rhineac. They can get hypothermia because they fall into the water dish and then they get too cold, or they do have a splayed leg or curled toes, and even if you have 4 heat lamps over one brooder box, they'll all pile in one corner on top of each other to try and sleep. And if you have one with bad legs that you didn't realize had bad legs, he won't make it. Or they'll be eating and drinking but just not growing, and they'll maybe last 4 or 5 days. That's the reality of almost every incubation and hatching cycle. You can't get attached to the ones that you see forming because anything can happen from the first time they go in the incubator until they're a week old or even older. Our whole reason for doing this was so people didn't have to go to Tractor Supply, they didn't have to order through the mail, and people we don't even know and don't understand how incubating or hatching works will say, well, can you give me a deal? My prices are what they are because of the amount of care that I have in my adults. I have 8 incubators in here right now. It's probably close to 700 eggs incubating, and maybe 400 of those will hatch if we're lucky. So I'm sorry. No, my prices are lower than hatchery prices, and yes, it's more expensive than Tractor Supply, but I know what you get from Tractor Supply. I've been there, and I'm not shaming Tractor Supply. There's nothing wrong if that's all you can afford. That's fine. But don't tell me my prices are too expensive when you don't understand what I go through to give you healthy babies and give them a head start, because on top of keeping them for an entire week, we supplement them with extra vitamins because we've seen the health issues they can get. We've seen the vitamin deficiencies they can get that people just really don't know or understand. And also, I bury every single one that doesn't make it. There's a lot of reasons why we do what we do, and also why we price things the way that we price them. So I think if people knew like just how much you had to pay attention to and all the risks involved, paying $10 for a duckling wouldn't really seem like that much compared to spending, say, $8 not knowing if you have a male or a female, or if they're even going to survive the next week. There is nothing wrong from buying from Tractor Supply. That's how we got started. There's nothing wrong if that is all you can afford, or you don't know how to get started, or you don't know what you want. That is perfectly fine. I am not shaming anybody, but I can give you a guaranteed female duckling for $15 for most of our breeds. There's other breeds we have that are more rare. They're a little more expensive, but they're also more expensive from a hatchery. Hopefully I can help people so they don't have to go through everything that we went through starting up.